how does informational content marketing help with sales when it's not tied to a call to action? Okay, question again is, how does informational content help with sales when it's not tied to a call to action? That's really a couple different ways. Let me explain. First of all, I think right out of the gate, we're just talking a second ago about compelling content. People don't want to be sold to all the time. Sometimes you're hitting people at the right time. They're getting ready to go to dinner with their family. They see something that social media posts from a restaurant, looks great. That might be, they want to be hit with a straight call to action. Now I might check out that restaurant because it looks really great and they're local and we haven't been there. And, so straight call to action, straight sales type of content could work in that situation. In many situations, people want to understand more. People want to be educated. So informational content, and you probably see that I create a lot of this with regard to different things that I do. If you see content that I write, I tend to write informational content. What that is content that's going to take something, maybe an issue or what we talk about in the marketing world, a pain point in somebody's life, and talk about tips or strategies or sorry, we got sirens going by right outside. I'm not sure if that's coming through, but something somebody's dealing with in their lives, and you're going to answer that question with 3 tips or 3 strategies or whatever the case may be. So it's something somebody's interested in. It's not, they're not interested because they think you're trying to sell them something. They're interested in the answers. So you're giving them good quality information. The way that kind of comes full circle and can be more tied to sales is the fact that your product or service might be a good answer to one of those things, and not in a weird way, like you're trying to put a square through a round hole, but in a natural way. Somebody's trying to save money on electrical bills. So maybe you give them 4 tips to save money on utility bills this summer, and maybe your product or service answers one of those things. It's part of one of those tips, but the whole article isn't centered around buy from me. Look at what I can give you. Here's my product. Here's my service. It's saying, hey, here's some good quality information that I'm providing. And by the way, like one of the things on this list, we can help you with if you want to talk to us more about it. So you're providing good quality information that's valuable to the person that's reading it, and your product or service maybe is tied back to that. So back to this question, how does content marketing that doesn't have direct calls to action help with sales? Well, a couple different ways. One, we talked a little bit earlier today actually about how traffic to your website can actually help your SEO. It can also help when you create content on your website that's informational. It can help you come up on different search engines that maybe search results, I should say, that you're not currently coming up on. So maybe your article starts coming up in search results that you weren't coming up for using my example a minute ago, saving energy this summer. So maybe somebody's searching for how to save energy this summer and your article comes up. So they weren't really looking for your product or service. They were just looking for general information. Now the article comes up, they educate themselves a little bit about that article, and now maybe they're interested in your product or service because the article informed them about different ways to save on energy, and yours, one of the things you offer was part of that. So now they've come to your website, they've read the article, now they're interested, maybe that turns into sales. The other thing it did was generate traffic to your website, which can help with SEO. The other thing it did is created a piece of content on your website that potentially could attract other search results, like I just mentioned. So those things can all tie back to leads and or sales, even though the article wasn't written in a such way to throw, in Gary Vaynerchuk vernacular, a right hook trying to sell somebody on something. You're just trying to inform somebody. And people in 2022, let me clarify, people in 2022 are very savvy. They understand, they can connect the dots really well. They've been living in an internet age for a long time. You don't have to 100% spell out to them, hey, if you want, they're going to figure out that your product or service is tied to this. And if they're interested, they could potentially reach out. Now, you may want to at the bottom say, hey, if you're interested in learning more about this, because that's kind of what we do, click here, whatever. But you don't have to go in for the hard sell. People have the ability to figure out if they're interested or not, and then how to reach out to you if they're interested or not. The fact that they're interested in that content and they ended up on your website is already going to put you in a position of authority where they're going to look at your company maybe knows something about this because I'm reading an article on your website about this topic that I'm interested in. So you don't necessarily have to tie it so closely together to where there's the right hook. Sometimes you just have to basically become an authoritative person speaking on a particular issue, and then somebody's going to connect the dots and reach out to you for more information. So that's how it can be tied to selling. It can help with your SEO. It can also help bring in a lot more people into the funnel where they might not have been interested right out of the gate with a more salesy, if you will, type of content. They might be interested in a more of an informational piece of content, and that in turn turns into a sales opportunity for you. So think about your content as you're creating it as, informing people, and occasionally you can go in and create like content that's more direct sales type. But I think if you're trying to create content on a regular basis, people don't want to just see a steady barrage of sales oriented content. They start to tune that out. You have to figure out another way to gain their interest without it feeling very salesy to them. And I'm not saying do this bait and switch, like you basically put something out there, a title to something, and then as soon as they get in there, everything in that article is about buy from me, look at my product, check this out. That's going to turn people off as well. But if you legitimately can create a good article about 4 tips to and maybe your product aligns with one of those tips, but the content is valuable whether they buy your product or not, I think you're going to see a lot more people consume that content, and then a certain percentage of those people may reach out to you because they're interested in getting more information and taking it to the next level. That's how informational content can result in sales. It isn't a direct connect like, hey, we're running a sale on something, let's run a social media ad and see how many people respond to our sales ad. That's more of a direct sale type thing. And it works. Those type of things work as well. But I do think you need to fill in, or you need to change it up a little bit with regard to some other types of ways that you can reach out to somebody instead of just that direct sales approach all the time. And with that, we